Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Silver Lining. I'm your host, Juliette Valle, and today I'm so excited to introduce you to our amazing guest who I have fangirled over after watching her amazing Miss America performance. She is so sweet and so kind. Please welcome Monica Thompson, Miss Colorado 2019.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to talk to you about all things Miss America.
I know. Oh, she is newly married. Congratulations, Monica.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, have the fancy ring now,
That is a nice ring, and your photos were absolutely lovely. And so I'm guessing that your husband now, he was your boyfriend while you were Miss Colorado, so he's been through it all with you.
He has been part of the journey. I know he would have never expected to be dating a pageant girl and then to go to Miss America. I say, look how far you've come in the past few years. So
who really won, you or your husband? I mean, I guess both.
Right. Yeah, we both get to share the sparkly crown now,
So I'm wondering when and how you first got involved with the Miss America organization, and what do you believe that you learned in those first few years that led you to your Miss Colorado win?
Yeah, my journey to the Miss Colorado Crown's probably a little different than I think a lot of. I mean, we all have our own story, right? We all have the ups and downs. But for me, I did not grow up doing pageants, which is pretty common actually within Miss America. It was never something that was on my radar until I was about 19 years old. And I had grown up watching Miss America and seeing those girls on stage. And in fact, I remember watching, I think it was back in, I don't know, 2009 or something. And my older sister said, oh, Monica, you could totally, be a state title holder like that. You have a talent. And I was like, no, not for me, never going to happen. And lo and behold, when I was about 19 is when I was in college and kind of realized, oh, college is really expensive. And Miss America popped into my head as, oh, a scholarship program. And so my local school that I was taking part of, and we talked a little bit about this before we started filming, Juliette, but though I'm from Colorado, I went to school in Oklahoma at a very small private school called Oklahoma City University. And while I was there, Oklahoma is a big pageant place, and OCU, Oklahoma City University, has had 3 Miss Americas, 30 something state title holders, and so Miss America is a big deal at that state. And really, my goal when I started at 19 years old was just to win the local competition of Miss Oklahoma City University because she got a full year of tuition, which is worth a lot of money. So the very first time I ever competed in Miss America was that local university competition. I placed 4th runner-up. I did not win it, and so I actually came back to Colorado. Like I said, it's where I'm from. And the fun fact about Colorado is that it's an open state, meaning we do not have local competitions. So you can kind of just sign up as long as you meet the requirements that Miss America sets forward. And the very first year that I competed in the state competition, I was in the top 15. I was like, great, okay, I'm ready for Miss Oklahoma City University. And yep, second year I went back and I won that local pageant. And I was like, great, my full year of tuition, I got it. But it qualified me to go to Miss Oklahoma, which is, I think, the opposite of Miss Colorado in the sense that I competed with 50 other girls. It's very competitive. I mean, these girls grow up, a lot of them grow up doing pageants. And I had learned so much just from the local board that I had worked with, had a fantastic experience, won a prelim talent award at Miss Oklahoma and a community service award, but did not make the top 10. So it was kind of like, oh, well, yay and not so great. So that was my second year. Come into third year, and I said, that was really where the shift happened for me. I started to look at Miss America not just scholarship money, which is a great perk of Miss America, but it's a lot more than that. The opportunities and the doors that open started to become more apparent, and I started to really fangirl or become this kind of Miss America fanatic, and I looked up to these women. So I went back to Colorado. My third year competing, I was first runner-up. And if you've ever been first runner-up, tough spot to be in. Tough spot.
You're so close, yet so far.
Yes. You're like, man, you're happy for that person, but it's hard. And so then the next year, so now we're in year 4, I come back and I did not have this kind of linear progression. A lot of the times, you you think that first runner up is going to win the title the next year. And I did not. In fact, I didn't even make the top 5 at Miss Colorado that year. Yes.
This
So
is
there,
like a roller coaster. Like,
right? Are you along with this journey with me? I mean, it was almost more devastating than being first runner up, because it was like, well, what did I do so wrong this year? And then my very last year of eligibility, and in the same time that Miss America went through a lot of changes, no swimsuit, new leadership, was my last year. And so I went, and my 5th and final year competing, I won Miss Colorado 2019.
yes, this is the ending we wanted. We love that.
Right. So the crown finally became mine. But really, I think, looking back at all of those years, um, I want to encourage, if anybody watches this and maybe they're not from a SASH state, or maybe I only competed with 7 other girls in my state competition, which is the size of many locals. I know where you're from, Juliette, in Florida. That's pretty small even for a local.
Yeah, I don't know if we're a SASH state like Texas or Oklahoma, but I'm thinking about it, and I think that we probably are a little bit of a SASH state. I'm thinking so, yeah.
I think so. I think yeah, I agree. There's like Oklahoma, Texas, and then, but yeah, Florida's up there, I would say. Colorado, not so much. So I think people can underestimate you, and you can underestimate yourself too. And I think competing all of those years made me realize, one, it made me believe in myself, which sounds kind of cliche, but I grew up in a sense, learning and trying to project that confidence to a set of strangers. And though it took me 5 years to win it, each time I was learning something more, I was gaining more experiences. And by the time it was that 5th and final year, and when I went to Miss America, my brand had been kind of created and solidified. I knew who I was. And so when I went into my interview at Miss America, it was easy to say, I know exactly what I want my year to look like. And I think that contributed to the success that I saw there.
Yeah, and like you said, the fact that there was only 7 girls at your state, you don't want that to minimize your win. And of course, because I've talked to most of the girls in your class by now,
Yeah.
and like states like, I'm trying to remember states like you said that are open, not requiring a local, like Montana and Maine. I know there's more than that, which caught me by surprise. I didn't even know that was a thing. In the system. But it doesn't take away from the fact that you did win, and plus those 7 girls were probably competition enough, and then you made it to top 7 at Miss America, so that doesn't dictate anything. I mean, honestly, I think winning a local within itself is an accomplishment, let alone winning an entire state. So
Right.
I think that any win is absolutely amazing. And also, just to capitalize on your perseverance, like you said, it's really hard to be first runner up, but then the next year you said that you didn't even make the top 5, and
Yeah.
you were wondering what you did wrong, but you kept trying and kept going back, and then you won the whole thing. But
Right.
that must have really tried your patience, because people don't realize it's not just like one pageant after the other. You have to wait a whole year, and that's a year full of preparation and really hard work and lots of anticipation. So you must have been really sad that you had to wait a whole other year to figure out if you were going to win at all.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, as you know, I mean, it's kind of, you get after, the state pageant, and whether you win or lose, you're kind of, okay, yeah, I got to wait a whole other year to either redeem myself, or I have this year to be the Miss title holder. But yeah, definitely patience, and you rethink everything, and then you kind of go into the questioning of, should I do this again or not? Especially going into that last year for me, it was like, if I don't win, is that going to be devastating to me? And I think that's when also I had to really find my identity in something that wasn't Miss Colorado, which was another kind of mind shift for me of, when I went into that last year, it was okay if I didn't win. I wanted to win, but it wasn't going to deter who Monica Thompson was.
And I think that's such an interesting point, even for me, because I feel like learning from you guys. I know it sounds silly, but it's like a masterclass for local title holders like me that want to be in your position, because, not only hearing advice about how to compete, but how to deal with other factors outside of competing really is like educational. And so I'm asking not just for anyone that watches my show, but for me too. How do
Yeah.
you differentiate your, I mean, I guess it sounds like pretty dramatic, but your self value or worth, from winning a crown? Because even for me, who's preparing for Miss Florida now, is my first Miss pageant. I place so much emphasis on that, and I feel like it's helpful for any pageant girl to hear, like, how did you personally realize, like, I'm still wonderful, I'm still amazing, I'm still Monica Thompson, even if I don't win?
Yeah, great question. And I think that's probably different for everybody. For me personally, I went back to my faith quite a bit, a
Mhm.
lot of prayer, a lot of that, but also, I mean, a lot of self-discovery in, I really invested in my social impact, and so, or my platform, or whatever you want to call it, which was called Building Strong Girls. So all I was doing was investing in these young girls and building their confidence. And I was sitting there not feeling totally confident in myself. And so when I was teaching these girls these lessons on where your self worth comes from, it was kind of a lesson to myself too of my self worth does not come from a set of strangers who are going to listen to me for 10 minutes and see me on stage for a couple more minutes and award me a job or not. Um, and that does take some soul searching. But at the end of the day, when you walk out of that interview room or you walk out of that pageant, um, you want to be proud of the woman that comes out of there. And so I think I've always just kind of walked away with that mindset of be proud of who you present, be sure that it's authentic in you, because if they don't choose you and you were true and authentic to who you are, did you really lose? Probably not.
I love that. Be authentic. I think that is so important. And, you know, a lot of girls present or say things that they think the judges will want to hear, but in reality, they just want to see who you are. So I think that's like not cliche at all, though we hear it a lot, but it really is like just such a good piece of advice. And I can just like tell from talking to you, like you're beautiful like a pageant girl, and I watched you perform like a pageant girl, I guess you could say. That sounds weird, but you just seem like very like authentic and real, like nothing is rehearsed. And I think that's a really great quality and something for all of us to remember, because if we don't over rehearse, then none of us are rehearsed, and we're being ourselves. So I think that's super important.
Yes, absolutely. Agreed.
So now I'm wondering, you obviously had a couple of years of service then with the Miss America organization, I guess, in two different states. So I'm wondering how those years of service shaped you as a person. And I asked how did they impact you in your community, but I'm also guessing, I also want to ask rather, how did those years of service prepare you for the biggest year of service yet as Miss Colorado? Because that's representing an entire state, and a lot of people don't take into consideration that it is a real job and you are
Yeah.
traveling and it is quite a bit of work. So I'm wondering, do you think that your days as a local title holder prepared you for the amount of work you had to do as a state title holder?
Right. Yeah, and I'll go back to the fact that, our locals were not really locals, although we were assigned a title in Colorado. I was Miss Centennial or Miss Aurora, which, if you know Colorado, you know where those are. But I think what was so different is that Miss Colorado, when you step into a state title holder job, a lot of the time they kind of have the groundwork already in place for you. You're going to go to these schools, you're going to have this interview. That really was not the case for me at all. Miss Colorado, in fact, had never had a school lineup before. It was just not something that any Miss Colorado had done. Some had tried, but it's difficult, right, to get in those classrooms. So even as a local title holder, I had started to make some community connections, which ended up being national partnerships when I went to Miss America. Organizations like Girls on the Run or Girl Scouts, girl empowering organizations, that it wasn't just the pageant girl showed up, it was Monica showed up, and we had a personal relationship which carried through those years. And then when I actually did become Miss Colorado, definitely a job. And for Miss Colorado, it's not really a paid job a lot of the time. Some of it is, but not a lot of it. My weeks consisted of going into children's hospitals every single week and talking with those patients. It was making those national partnerships. And then I started a school assembly kind of trail all over Colorado and ended up talking to 8,000 students. But I mean, all of that wasn't going to be possible if, one, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Two, if I hadn't built those partnerships over my years as a local competitor. And three, just building a community that supported me during a pretty difficult, strenuous year. And on top of that, you compete for your dream of being Miss America.
I am surprised to hear that a lot of the time you aren't paid, and I'm sure a lot of people are surprised to hear that too.
Mhm.
Um, but it really is a testament to how these title holders like you are doing this out of the goodness of your heart. And like you said, you're going into children's hospitals and
Mhm.
situations that aren't always so easy. You know, sometimes I'm sure you even got emotional, but you have to keep on that face of I'm Miss Colorado and I'm here to brighten their day. And this is probably the only time or one of the only times I'll ever meet someone like Miss Colorado. But it really must be hard sometimes in situations like that to keep the Miss Colorado image.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people, I mean, you walk in a sparkly hat and a sparkly sash, and
It's intimidating. It
it's
is.
intimidating. Yes, and almost like the adults are more intimidated than the kids are. The kids think you're Cinderella, or just they know you're someone important. Even as a local title holder, they know that you're somebody important, right? You walk in with a crown and a sash. And yeah, absolutely, there were situations where I walked in and the kids just want to be heard. They just want to be seen. And what was so cool was my favorite part of the job was taking off my crown and sash and putting it on kids, because the year,
Exactly. I
yeah,
love
the year wasn't about me. And I told this to the Miss Colorado candidates too. The year was not about me. The year was about making it special for every single person that I met. So that's advice for local title holders or state title, who's ever crowned in June and July of this year. Make it not about you. And I think that's where you'll find the most satisfying parts of your year.
I love that. It's not about you, it's about the people you meet. I think that's a really great quote. I always love to repeat great quotes that I hear and I'll write them down because, one day I'm going to post on my Instagram. I do quotes every Monday and I'm going to quote you. So
Quote me, tag me. No.
I will. So anyway, in addition to being like a literal queen and just all around awesome, you also are super talented. And so we were talking before because I'm a fellow theater kid. Monica is too. And I had my very own personal experience of auditioning, and it's tough. And one of the most competitive schools in the country. And for anyone that knows theater, or anyone that has like a child that does theater, or anyone who does theater or is in my age range, knows that this college is one of the best. I'm not just saying that, it really is. It's Oklahoma City University, and she majored in not only vocal performance, which I'm assuming means classical music for you too, but also musical theater. And it's weird because I did musical theater last year and I switched to political science now, but I'm still studying opera as well at So like you and I relate so hard because it's a very interesting set of curriculum, being a theater student. And so I'd like to hear about your experience at a very competitive institution like that. And I also want to know what led you to major in that and what led you to that career choice.
Yeah, and we can absolutely relate on this, Juliette, because it is an interesting career path. I again did not see myself going into the arts. I did not start singing until I was in high school, so kind of a late bloomer in the sense of
That is surprising. Based on everything, that is very surprising.
and God-given talent, because I was singing next to my mom in church one day, I think, and she was like, I think we should get you in some voice lessons, not because I was bad, but because I was, showed some signs of talent. And it took a couple years to have that confidence to really sing on stage. But the first musical I ever tried out for was my freshman year of high school. Did not get in. So that should show you kind of what like there's a
I bet they're regretting that right now because they missed the chance to have Miss Colorado in their show. But if it makes you feel any better, in my freshman production of Godspell, I played a tree.
yes, we all have those kinds of
A tree
experiences.
that tap danced. It was
Hey,
really
hey,
interesting.
at least you got to tap dance. That's something, right? It's awesome to look back on those kinds of roles. But kind of over those 4 years of high school, I gained a lot of confidence. I started performing more. I won a Shakespeare acting competition my junior year and flew to New York City, which is very exciting, and placed in the top 10 in the nation for Shakespearean acting, and kind of loved both acting and music. I had this gift and this voice, which I got to use at Miss America, but also loved creating characters and telling stories, which is more of that musical theater acting sense. My teachers were really the ones that encouraged me to audition at all these schools, kind of the top of the line schools. And I was very grateful and excited to get into, I think I auditioned for 8 schools and got into 7 of them, which led me to OCU, or Oklahoma City University, honestly because they would let me double major. And like you mentioned, I did do a double major in kind of classical voice and musical theater. Although when I did get there, I had a professor or I think a counselor or somebody who said, Monica, no one's ever graduated with these 2 degrees in the honors program in 4 years. Like, you should just choose one and go with it. And I'm very stubborn, so I said, no, I'm going to do it in 4 years.
I mean,
And
it's incredibly arduous work. I just want to, and of course I'll let you finish. I just want people to understand that for classical vocal performance, what you studied along with musical theater, but just on the classical side, you have to not only study the music and be good at theory, and I
yeah.
am not good at theory. That's something I'm still learning. You have to be good at theory. You have to learn languages. You have to take
Yeah.
several different classes. History of music. It's not just like you take a voice lesson and you're done. That like the classical side is you're legit learning theory, languages, and then the musical theater side. You also have tons of credits. I mean, and you're doing production, so you must have had a heavy workload.
Very heavy, very heavy workload. And I think that's why I was probably advised against it out of goodwill. And then I just kind of took it to the next level. But yeah, you're absolutely right. A very heavy work schedule. I was waking up very early, and this was at the time too. I was competing in Miss America when they had swimsuits. So I was getting up and working out and then going to all my classes. But when you love something, which I did, it does kind of make the time go by faster. It makes the work worth it. And so when I graduated and I worked professionally, I was part of the Actors Equity Association and got to sing and do lots of fun roles, and obviously use those skills at Miss America when I sang classical voice.
Yes, you did, and that leads me to a perfect segue. I love how my guest gives me a segue. Best. Okay, so your talent for Miss America was opera performance, and she didn't get to perform it on the live telecast. Still mad about that, by the way. I'm a little angry. But if you watch prelims, which I did. She was insanely good. And so an opera is pretty rare. I mean, we also had Victoria Hill, Miss Georgia sing opera too, and she was great. However, you don't really see it very often in pageantry. It's a pretty rare talent. So I was like so excited when I heard you, and especially since you were so good. So I want to know what piece you performed for Miss America and why you chose it. What did you love about it? And also, one last thing,
Yeah.
this is like a little bit of a weird mini question, but just as like a singer, I get incredibly nervous, and I can't imagine what it would be like to perform in front of millions of people on live TV. And when I get nervous, I get shaky. So I'm wondering how you like calmed your nerves before singing, because if you don't have breath control, especially when singing classical voice, like you might as well just like die.
Yeah. Yes. So, yeah, I'll talk about coming upon this song. So, yes, you're right. Typically, it is a pretty unique talent, classical voice. I was the only one that usually did it at my state competition. And then I go to Miss America, and there were several of us. Obviously, you mentioned Victoria Hill, who was first runner up, also sang classical. So we were classical buddies. We did a lot together during Miss
I know
America.
I saw you guys like hugging on Instagram because I'm open about stalking you, and you guys were like hugging, and I was like, oh my god, they're such queens. Like,
Yes, we were together a lot. So we but this song actually came about during my college years. When I first started competing, I wasn't honestly kind of at a loss about what kind of talent to do, and it's a good problem to have when you can sing or when you can dance, or maybe you just have multiple talents. You do kind of have to narrow down where you want to take those 90 seconds that you present to the judges. The very first year that I competed, I sang a musical theater song, which was okay, went okay. My second year, I think I sang and played piano at my local, or I guess that was my first local competition, because I played piano growing up. So I was like, oh, great, I'll play and sing. And the feedback that I got was, we want to hear your voice outside of, just the piano. So I went to my voice teacher in college and I said, I really want something that's technically difficult, because that is kind of one of the things you're judged on, but also is very entertaining. I want a character that I can really perform. And if you watched my preliminary competition, you know that it's quite a dramatic piece. And he suggested this
and the
song.
dress, by the way, the dress is like so dramatic. I
Yeah.
just love it. What was the name of your piece again? And where was
Yeah, so it's called La Fila De Cadiz, which is French. It means the women of Cadiz, which Cadiz was like an ancient city back in the day. And basically, the story is about a young woman who sees a former lover come into the courtyard square, and she flirts with him a little bit at first, and then she goes, ha ha ha, never mind, we're the women of Cadiz, and we run this place, is basically what it is. I mean, that's a very modern.
bothering? Albeit very sassy, but we love
Very sassy, very sassy. So if you watch it, although it's in a foreign language, you do kind of get the story, which was exactly what I was looking for in a piece. So I actually kept that throughout the whole time that I competed. I guess after coming back from Oklahoma, those 3 years in Miss Colorado, and then kept it for Miss America, simply because it was dramatic, it was fun to perform, it was technically difficult, but honestly, it was entertaining. And no matter what your talent is, whether it's a science experiment or an operatic piece, it has to be entertaining for those 90 seconds.
And I thought, like you said, the main challenge for a classical singer, because most of us are going to sing in foreign languages, it's like part of the charm, duh.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't know what she's saying, but it sounds good. No, but you made it very apparent what you were singing about. And as I was saying, the challenge for classical singers is you have to make an audience that most likely does not speak that language understand what you are saying. And I just thought you did an excellent job. And it's also just like so scary to perform in front of millions of people like that. I can't imagine the control or composure that you had to like have before doing that. What do you do to center yourself before a performance so you can calm your nerves? I mean, I'm sure an element of nervousness is still there, but do you have any like tips or tricks for like your fellow singers out there, like as to how you might like prepare yourself to perform in that kind of grand
Yeah,
scheme?
the grand stage. Yeah, I mean, a couple things. Obviously, practice, 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 and practice in as many venues and in front of as many people as you possibly can, because then you kind of get over at least part of the nervousness of, oh my goodness, I'm going to perform this. And if you've never done it, or if you've only done it in front of your mom or something, it's going to be very different to have that live audience.
And
Um,
sometimes it's even harder to perform, like you said, get as many people singing as you can, so like 10 family members. Sometimes that's harder because my
yeah.
grandma's giving me the side eye and I'm like, oh my God, she thinks I sound pitchy. So, but it does, yes, exactly. I can totally see what you're saying.
Yes, and you are so right. It is harder, yeah, to perform in front of your loved ones, because I guess you care more about what they think or something. Not sure, but yeah, just having different stages, different microphones, and then I think, I mean, honestly, the other part is picking something that's within your range. So even on your worst day, you can get up there and sing it. I know there are some people who pick a song because they love it, but they can only sing it if they've been warmed up for 20 minutes and they're not nervous, and you fill in the blank. But that's probably not the best song for your competition, because you're going to be singing it with nerves. You're going to be singing it, maybe you're a little sick that day, maybe you didn't get much sleep the night before, and you still have to be able to pull it out of the
Which in
bag.
North America, I'm sure it's pretty likely that you're not getting much sleep. And also, I've heard from a couple of the girls that the backstage of the Miss America Theater was like horribly cold.
Yes.
Um, so okay, that's true because they were like, and I noticed some of the girls even when they were like calling out the top 15 for the on-stage question, which you were the first finalist.
Yes.
So exciting. I saw some girls like shivering, and I was like, "Were you guys cold?" And they were like, "Yes." So
Yes.
that would also be terrible for singers. Why is every theater so cold?
I know. And when you're in Connecticut in December, you can,
Yes.
when there's an open truck, loading dock open, yeah, it got pretty chilly. So,
Oh my
and
gosh.
that's why it was so cold. So, kind of behind the scenes knowledge there is that they couldn't close one of the loading docks, and that's all that cold air was just coming right in. So, I
Oh,
felt more bad for the pianist or the instrumentalist, honestly, because they had were wearing mittens until they, came right off on stage and sat down and played.
the more you know, I would no, I don't like the cold. I'm from Florida. Maybe from Colorado or a little more.
Yes.
Oh, oh no.
Still though, yeah, yeah, little cold, little cold.
But I loved your performance. It was so iconic and honestly, like, what a queen. And I can totally see why you won your state of Miss Colorado. And so I'm wondering, we touched on your experience, and so you've already elaborated on that quite a bit. However, I want to know what the moment that you won was like. Were you shocked? Like I guess it's like an overwhelming rush of thoughts, but I want to know if you can remember what that moment was like because some girls blank and some girls remember everything. So whatever you can give me, I'll be
Yeah. Yes. Um, in a weird way, I definitely, was nervous that last year because it was kind of all on the line. There was no coming back the next year. But as we were waiting for that crowning, there was a peace that kind of washed over me, and not, I don't want this to sound arrogant, but it was kind of this, I think I might have won. Like I think I might have actually won this competition. um, but there's no guarantee, right? So we step onto that stage and they're calling, second runner up, they're kind of slowly going up the scale, and then I'm called as the winner. And there is a very beautiful crowning video of me bursting into tears, and I do remember all of it actually.
That's
Just
definitely being included. So you should not have told me that because I'm definitely putting it in now.
yes, oh yeah, I'll definitely send it. Yes, it's quite the video. And I think Ellery, who was Miss Colorado the year before I was, had to whisper, "Okay, kneel down now. I have to put this crown on your head," because I like hug her, and yeah, I mean, just elated, right, with emotion, and all of those years kind of compounded into 1 second, into one moment.
Oh my,
Um,
I
yeah,
forgot Ellery crowned you because she was Miss Colorado 2018 and she's incredible. She also
yes,
placed pretty far in the competition before. So, I mean, Colorado's been doing pretty good. She
yeah,
graduated from Harvard. Like, she was a total boss queen.
total,
So, I
yes.
guess Colorado really does produce great girls. You were making it sound like it was so small, but you girls are like amazing from there.
Well, I mean, I think that's, we look back and we're like, oh yeah, we have done pretty well over the last couple years.
Yes.
But it's still, I think people still always gravitate to, the big names, the big states. But maybe, with all of the success, Colorado will kind of have some prestige going into whoever is the next Miss Colorado. Will have that kind of
I mean,
feel.
you're bringing Colorado on the map.
That's what we're doing. Ellery, yeah, we're trying. And honestly, all the Miss Colorados have been fantastic. So it's a hit or miss at Miss America, whether you place or not. So lucky to follow in those footsteps.
AKA it's rigged. No, just kidding. No. So that is amazing. And then you went on to compete for Miss America and you made top seven. And, before I ask, well, I want to know all about your experience. I know you guys spent a week in Connecticut. And you mentioned that you had been doing pageants for a couple of years. I don't know how long you had like followed pageants because I know like your sister brought it up to you and then you did it in college, but it wasn't like you were doing it since you were a child or anything. But
Right,
it was very different from a Miss America that you might have anticipated because
right.
there was no Show Me Your Shoes, there was no Atlantic City. So it was a little bit different. I want to know how you handled that. And also, when you were called into top seven, um, because I interviewed also Jillian Duffy, Miss Connecticut, but besides you two, I haven't interviewed anybody that's made the top yet. I'm saving, I'm just getting to that section of girls now. And
Yeah.
but I never asked her about this. So I guess I'll ask you. You guys had a really weird thing where like the judges like would give you feedback or it was just a much more personal interview.
Yeah.
I really don't remember because I haven't really watched it since. I watched a little bit of your clip, but I just want to know like how you dealt with that format too. From what
Mhm.
I've heard from a lot of your sisters, and I know I'm layering a lot of questions one on the other
Yeah.
so I can remind you along the way, but from what I've heard from your sisters is that you guys had a lot of unanticipated changes happen that you were just informed about like a few days before, if not the day of. So I want to know how you handled all of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, so as you mentioned, we were the first class to go to Connecticut and have a different month of the year of competing in December right before Christmas. And obviously, Miss America had gone through quite a few changes that year and even the year before with different leadership, different, you know, scoring changes, a new social impact pitch, and talent is now 50%. And at least for my year, I don't know if that's changed.
So then
So
how did you not win, Monica?
got to talk to those judges again.
I will call them all right after.
But
No,
please tell them.
not talent's 50%. That's a lot of pressure for us.
A lot of but who knows? I mean, they could have changed that. Who knows? But at the time, yeah, all of these changes, have had took place. And part of it, going to Connecticut, and we had kind of been set up in the months before. We knew we weren't going to have Miss America in September because that kind of came and went. Then we had our orientation, and they told us kind of the news. And maybe this is part of my personality. I am just kind of a go with the flow. I'm not phased by a lot of changes, and that played to my strength. A lot of people who are maybe more type A, or I have to know the time and date, so that it was more challenging for them to get that kind of news. Um, I will say also, I think some of those judging changes played to my favor as well. The talents being higher, more of it being about the work that you've done, what you would do. And so when we actually got to Connecticut and it was freezing cold, even for a Coloradan, it was very cold. Um, I was kind of in the mindset of, I yes, I have looked up to these Miss America contestants for years. I have, kind of like you, Juliette, studied and stalked, and I had dreamed of what my costume would be in the Show Me Your Shoes parade.
So glad someone else understands this
Yeah,
stuff.
I was there. I was there.
Thank you.
Um, but at the same time, I think by the time that I finally got to Miss America, and though it looked totally different than in years past, my mindset wasn't so much, I am here to enjoy this experience. It was more so, I am here to win Miss America. Um, and again, not in an egotistical way, not in a, I am going to do this, but that if my goal is to win Miss America, it doesn't really matter what's going on around me. It doesn't really matter that we eat at the same buffet place almost every, meal.
Glorious buffet. I've heard that like the first day it was fun, the seventh
Yeah.
day it was not fun.
Now, a lot of people, struggled with that, but I mean, maybe I was just so stressed that I was just like kind of like going through the motions. But I think that mindset also kind of played to my favor because my goal was to compete at Miss America and to do as well as I possibly could. So for me, it wasn't so much about the experience, although honestly, I didn't have a bad experience at Miss America. I did get to meet fantastic women. I do have all of these memories that how many girls would kill to be in the spot that I was in. And when
Hello, me.
yeah, speaking of one, so for me, it wasn't necessarily a disappointment. It was just a readjustment. But I know that a lot of girls in my class do not feel that way or did not feel that way. But I just couldn't let my focus be, thrown in the direction of, oh, we're missing out on all these things, when instead my mindset had to be, let's do as well as we can in these phases of competition. So that's kind of my Mohegan Sun experience. It wasn't bad. It was just different, definitely different. But I honestly had a good time. And when I placed, the top 7, which you mentioned, we kind of learned about that the day before, I believe. We had heard some rumors that there was going to be a different way of cutting down the field. And they sat us all in a circle and said, okay, the way we're going to do it is going to announce a top 15 and then automatically, based on all of those preliminary scores, go directly into a top 7.
Yeah.
Tough, right? Tough and nerve wracking. And obviously, none of us knew who was in the top 7. And honestly, I thought I had done well, but I didn't know if I was in the top 7.
Because normally the top 15 get that chance to do all the phases, or at least top 10.
Or at least, right, yeah.
Get to do talent and everything. So that's 8 girls that then miss out on that chance. So that was really tough. I talked to Miss Florida, Michaela McLean, who was top 15 with you, and she was telling me how she felt like a little bit robbed of that chance because they changed it so much.
Yeah.
And you made the first finalist position, so I'm sure you were very relieved in that moment. However, it was just a really different setup, and I just thought you handled it with tons of poise, and you did so well. But it was definitely extremely, extremely different.
Very different. Yeah, I mean, all the formatting was different too, right? You watch past Miss Americas and you watch the 2020 year, and even the filming angles are different. And like you said, they gave us feedback after our rounds too. So, when I was called and I was the first one, which you can see on my face, I am in total shock that is the case. Walking out there, and really being the, the test
Yeah,
for
I
them.
was gonna say you're the guinea pig because I don't know if they had rehearsed that, but since from what I'm hearing, it even if you did have rehearsal or even an explanation, it was quite minimal. So you were going out into the unknown, and that's all fun and good. But when you're going out into the unknown in front of, potentially millions of people, that's
Yeah.
not fun. And
Right. And you just kind of get into the zone of I've trained for this. It's, I mean, honestly, three or four questions that they asked me. And yeah, a little awkward to kind of get feedback and then to stand up there and, kind of with the other girls either get cut or to be moved on. And, whether or not, I mean, I think I get what they were going for, kind of a more reality show type feel.
yeah,
Whether or not that's what they will continue to do or whether that's not, I mean, it wasn't really my opinion of that they did that, but again, it was kind of what it was. So you just kind of have to take it for, for what it is. And though I think my biggest disappointment looking back is that I wasn't able to perform my talent,
yeah.
in any other year at Miss America I would have been able to, and that was honestly kind of my dream was,
Many of the girls share that same sentiment, and I can tell, especially for you, because that is your thing. I mean, you're great all around, but you are so talented, and I just know that as a performer, that's our pride and joy, and it being 50% too. It was, I'm sure that was particularly hard. And I mean, like I said, many of your sisters, like it's not just you, whether they're an opera singer, a dancer, or what have you, they were all very disappointed because you work so hard. And I know that you see your Miss America experience as positive, but I also just want to show the side that sometimes even when you get to Miss America, it's not everything you thought it would be, but you have to handle those challenges as they come.
Right, right. And I think the same thing is true, when you're handed your Miss State title holder position. It's not all glitz and glam. It's not all, you walk into a lot of rooms where you're not exactly sure what's going to happen. And the same is true going to Miss America or becoming Miss America. I mean, who would have known that Camille's year would be the year of the pandemic? I mean, what a challenge she has faced.
And
So,
right before, like you guys really had that 3 months before
right.
everything changed. So it must have been very jarring for you because you go back to your years Miss Colorado, but it's obviously very different than what you thought it would be.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, that's kind of what has bonded our class. A lot of people stayed on for that second year. I was one of the few that did not. But still, we're all kind of all in this together mentality of, even though our Miss America experience wasn't exactly as it had been in years past and the formatting was different and our years were so different, it has kind of bonded us in a different way than I think a lot of other classes have had to experience.
And you guys have also been a great like beacon of light for us local title holders because we're navigating, being 2 year title holders in a pandemic as well, doing mostly virtual. And I've interviewed a lot of the girls, like I said, and a lot of them, it's not even a few, a lot of them have taken off for that second year, not because they don't want to do it or because they're tired, because even though you are tired, it's designed as a 1 year job for a reason. It's arduous work, and any title holder will tell you that. But a lot of them have career opportunities that otherwise they would have had to put on hold, or you got married. And these are things that, not you didn't plan for. I mean, you didn't plan to postpone them another year rather. So you had
Right.
to move on and do your own thing. So I completely respect it. And, like you said, you're visiting hospitals, you're not getting paid most of the time, you're competing in Miss America, you're traveling all over. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I just admire that you guys are able to do all that work for 1 year, let alone a second year. Um, and that's why I admire your class so much. I admire you girls because you have such a unique challenge and such a unique Miss America and such a unique circumstance. You all are amazing, and I can definitely tell that's why your class is bonded so much. You guys have been there for each other, and I'm sure you'll echo the same sentiment because you've told me you're close with Victoria and other title holders that, without the support of one another, you probably would not have been able to do as well as you all have.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's true, I'm sure, for local title holders in each state too.
Sure.
You guys are going through unprecedented times and trying to figure out, what our state competition's going to look like. When are they going to be?
I have no idea. Good
Like, we
question.
don't know. And each state is probably going to be different too. But that's, I mean, that's the human experience. And that's also what is so special about Miss America are these true friendships that come out of it and the support that we can give to one another.
And I can definitely tell that you are so close with your sisters, and you are just so kind to me, and it just shows like how like pageant girls are so nice to one another. Like we're like our own little family,
Yeah.
which I find very sweet. Now I have a friend in Colorado, and I don't have any friends in Colorado, but you are very cool. You're
Come
very
on up. Come on over. You have a place to
I would
stay.
love to meet you and Ellery like having a party. Iconic.
Let's
Please
schedule it.
in one place. I'm talking your ear off. I feel terrible. So I have a question about your platform now. You mentioned it before, and I have heard you talk about it online as well. So it's very important to you, and I'd love to hear more about it.
Yeah, so it's titled Building Strong Girls, which is all about empowering the next generation of women to be strong and confident and healthy. It really has come out of my own experience growing up. I grew up in a single parent household with a mom and two other sisters. I'm the middle child, and I got to see the joys of womanhood and also kind of the difficulties that we face as women. And I started to notice, especially in these younger generations, in the age of social media and online presence and bullying, our young girls were losing confidence, and a lot of the mental health in our young girls and in our young boys was deteriorating. And it just broke my heart. So I started to work with organizations like Girls on the Run, which is an organization that empowers young women through running and through some.
Yes, it's a big organization too.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So if you don't know about them, I encourage you to look them up. They're in all the states. And then also Girl Scouts, which I think most people are aware of. And then also my sorority that I was a part of in college, their national or kind of platform, each sorority kind of has something that they stand and raise money for, is actually called Building Strong Girls as well. So when I became part of that sorority, it just kind of clicked, and I liked that wording of building strong girls. It's active. It's and a lot falls under that umbrella. So it wasn't just the physical side, which is part of it. You know, you can talk about healthy eating, you can talk about exercise, but you also talk about encouraging the mental side of things. So as Miss Colorado and as a local title holder, I spent a lot of time volunteering with these organizations, even working for these organizations. And so when I won Miss Colorado, I said, let's build some national partnerships. So I traveled all over the state of Colorado to talk to those sororities in all the colleges. I talked at Girls on the Run and sang the national anthem at some races. And then when I went to Miss America and they asked me, what do you bring to the table? I was able to talk about these national partnerships, and it melded so well with the direction that Miss America was taking and is taking of empowering this next generation of women. That I also kind of think that contributed to my success, kind of the perfect storm of my passions and my story aligning with the Miss America mission as well. So that's kind of building strong girls. It's something that I'm still passionate about, still involved in, which is kind of the whole point. It should be something that you, even if you win your state, you still want to stay involved with because it is that close to your heart.
Definitely. I think that is such a good point because this is not just a mission to that you pick up to win the crown. It's a mission that is important to you and you plan to continue throughout
Yes.
your whole life. You just hope to win the crown so you can promote your mission on a grander scale. So that's very true. And also, I love that you as a title holder are promoting this because I feel like there's no one better to promote a platform about encouraging females and males, like you said, to be their best selves other than a Miss America title holder. I mean, I think that's the perfect person to do that. And you quickly touched on like social media, and I'm 19 now, and I've grown up in the age where social media like has been a part of my everyday life since I was old enough to even get a phone. So I've never known like my technological part of my life without social media in it, and it is very like it can make you feel very unconfident. It can make you feel sad, like depressed. Like I look at all these like gorgeous girls and I wonder why can't I be like them. So it's refreshing to hear someone that is like the pinnacle of beauty being a beauty title holder, right? Talking about this from a refreshingly honest perspective. It's nice for girls to hear, and it makes me feel better, walking away being like, okay, so I'm not the only one. Like even Miss Colorado, who like I want to be like, has these struggles too, So it's really like it's almost comforting in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, when you open that door of vulnerability and to share your struggles, that's really where people connect with you. And, if you watch preliminaries, you know this, but my onstage question was something along the lines of, if you had to promote something that wasn't your social impact, what would you choose? And I was pretty vulnerable in the sense I opened up about, I used to be 30 pounds heavier than I am right now. So I would talk about body positivity and, it's not something you hear every day on the Miss America stage. But when you open that door, people resonate with that. People resonate with that authenticity, with that genuineness. That if you're willing and able to kind of open your heart to those strangers, to an audience of 1,000 or 1,000,000, you really do start to kind of reach your hand out, and that's what gravitates, pulls people towards you, is being and having that vulnerable side of yourself.
And I just want to say, like, thank you for being so vulnerable and so honest, because it's like women like you that really help girls like me or even younger and boys too, like build better versions of themselves. So I truly mean that. And I can tell that you're very passionate about your platform. And now I'm like so sad. I could cry. I'm at my last question, which
Oh my goodness, how the time has flown.
I know it's just me and Monica are best friends now. Oh, she agrees. Okay, great.
Yeah, we're best friends.
Right. So my show's title is called The Silver Lining, and it's all about finding the good in every situation. And I can tell you're just a very positive person because, from what I've heard, you always set yourself up for success and you work hard for your goals, but you always see the positive side of the situation, like where you mentioned in the beginning of our interview, even if I don't win this, I'm still walking away being myself. And that did I really lose? Probably not. And I love the quote, and I think that's like the best one out of all, even though you said so many great things. But I could just tell you're really positive and you like to look at the sunny side of situations. So I'm wondering, Monica, what
Yeah.
is the silver lining of your participation through pageantry? In short, what was the best part of this whole experience to you?
Mm. I mentioned this before too about not making your year about you, but making it about everybody else. And what was, I think, the best part, the silver lining for me of being Miss Colorado was the kids that I got to interact with as Miss Colorado. And I mentioned that part of my job was going into children's hospitals. It was creating a school, circuit board of places I could visit. And to see those kids light up and to learn their names and to put that crown on their head, those were the best times. Those were the best memories, is when I shifted the focus away from me and kind of gave them the mirror to look at themselves as everybody else sees them. And the smile that would come across their faces, you can't put a price on. You can't put a price on those types of memories. And that's what being a state title holder really is. It is, you are kind of the center of attention until you use that attention to really focus on things that are bigger than yourself. And I'll tell this story because it relates to our current Miss America, Camille. And after Camille won her preliminary talent award at Miss America, we were at breakfast the next day, and there had been a lot of whispers and talk about, um, science. How can she win a preliminary talent? That's not, a they got all up in arms because, oh, it's unusual, right, for a science experiment to even be a talent, let alone win a preliminary talent award. And I came up to her and I said, just so you know, don't let anybody tell you that your talent is not a talent. In fact, I can't wait to see this generation of women and little boys that you'll inspire to go after STEM careers. And I didn't know that she was going to go on to win Miss America and even have a bigger platform. But that's the silver lining, is whatever your platform is, whatever your passions are, is to reflect those out and use these opportunities as ways to just make it a silver lining for somebody else, make it the best day of their life because they got to wear the Miss Florida crown or the Miss Colorado crown. And I think Camille's done a great job. I think a lot of my, or all my state title holder sisters have done a great job. And I'm inspired by looking at women like you too, who are using their local titles to do great jobs. So finding the silver lining in whatever your passions are and projecting that out.
You are absolutely incredible. I love that answer. And I also want to say how generous you are because it really is a testament to what you said earlier about the friendships that you develop. The fact that you were so kind to Camille, who, by the way, I loved her talent as well. Very revolutionary and very different, but still very valid. And the fact that you were encouraging her in that way, even though she's technically your competitor, it just shows that you guys are not only just focused on the crown, but you're focused on the friendships too. And I think that what you said this year is not about you, it's about how you impact others or the people that you meet rather. I think
Yeah.
that is the true essence of what being a title holder is. And I just really appreciate you being so generous with your time with me. You are absolutely amazing. And I can't wait to come to Colorado and party with you and Ellery. And congratulations on everything, all your accomplishments, and now being married. It seems like you have a very exciting year ahead of you for sure.
Very much so, and looking forward to who will be the next Miss Colorado 2021. Just as excited as the next Miss Florida, whoever she may be.
I don't know if you'll come down to Florida because we don't know what's going on with COVID and it's only 4.5 months away. Oh my gosh, pinch me now. Um, anyway, but you better live stream it and you better
Oh,
be like holding like a sign that says I love Juliette or something like subtle to that effect.
just out of yeah.
I like to keep it subtle, nonpartisan. No, please watch it. And guys, just keep it with Monica. She's absolutely amazing. Her wedding photos are gorgeous. If you want to stalk her like I do, well, you can do that easily on Instagram. And Monica, thanks so much again for everything. You're absolutely amazing.
Awesome. Thank you, Juliette. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into my channel today. Your support means the world to me. If you like what you saw, please subscribe to my channel and like and comment on my videos because your support is what fuels my ability to make content. I'll see you guys next time, and once again, thanks for joining me for another episode of The Silver Lining. Love you guys. Bye!